It's 5:30. Hello, everybody. Happy November. Happy holiday season as we enter many celebrations between now through really mid-January, I think. So first order of business is approval of the minutes.
Have a quorum. I
Yes, we have
figured you would check that.
yeah, we do. We don't have Sheila tonight, and is Parker online
He's
yet?
not here yet.
But-
He may join us.
We do have, yes.
Great.
So any issues with the minutes, any comments on the minutes, or is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second.
Great. So all in favor?
I
Aye.
All right. No contentions, great. So we have fundraising updates and then we have communications next. I know we're in a bit of a time crunch. Well, we're not in a bit of a time crunch. So it's up to you guys. Do we want to start with the communications postcard mailer or do we want to get fundraising out of the way and stay in order?
Fundraising will be quick.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
fundraising will be quick.
there we go. Let's
So-
go.
From my side of the table, we had talked about the Burn Foundation donation. We did receive the Hypercare Hope Foundation for $500, and the most recent approval was the Mascoma Bank Foundation donation for $2,000, which was approved by the select board at the beginning of the week. So that brings us to the grand total of $98,450 raised by the committee.
Great.
And
Nothing's changed since last month's meeting. Just to recap, we're $2,500 below our target through 2026. We have 3 requests outstanding to the Landecker Foundation, to GeoCon, and to Jake Markets. All of them donated to us last year. I think the amount we've asked for totals 10,000, and we haven't heard from them. Doesn't tell us much, except we haven't heard anything. I don't actually know if they tell you if they turn me down, because pretty much
It hasn't happened much.
everything we've asked for, we've got.
Yeah.
Not the amount, but at least we've heard from, so that's it.
I'm sorry, Steve, 10,000 for those 3 combined,
We've asked for that much, yeah.
for those 3 combined, okay.
And in fact, I turned down an offer from one of the individuals who donated to us last year, who was coming up on the end of the year and said, should I be donating? And I said, hold your fire. Wait till next year in case.
so we are actively turning down donations.
We are informally not to be individuals.
Was that a group decision or was
That
that,
was my, decision on the spur.
okay,
If you want to advise me otherwise, let me know.
on just behalf of the committee, I think that that would be something that should come before everybody as part of the fundraising. If we're turning down donations, especially if we're considering going to the taxpayers are going to see this information come forward to say, well, you've turned down donations, so why do you need money from us? So it's something that we need to think about as fundraising.
What was the amount that this individual donated before?
I think that's between.
Oh. Okay.
Well, it's more. It's almost like you were deferring his donation to a time when we need it more than right now. Because he's donated before. I'm assuming it's a he, sorry, maybe you didn't say he, but this person has donated before and.
It's a couple.
I think it's just part of the management of the funding,
But the management of the funding is a group, it is a committee
right.
that is managing the funding.
Right, but we've delegated a lot to him, and I think that's part of what,
We have delegated applying for funding to him.
Right,
We have not delegated him as the representative for all of the funding that goes to the town. And so that's a boundary that I think should be noticed and is respectfully like being requested as saying that if we are going to taxpayers and they see that we have turned down funding offers, and then we're going to the taxpayers to say, well, now you need to pay. We need to be able to defend that, and that's a fair argument. If we've been able to raise $98,000 and we still have offers coming in, and to say we're gonna push it off to the taxpayers have seen a lot of increases in the last 2 years. I mean, we have 2 major building projects that have been in the works, and to push it forward, I think we need to ask ourselves those questions, because those are the questions that Budget Committee and Select Board would be asking us.
So are there any other comments? I mean, obviously it's now on the table for discussion is information. What is the sentiment of the group to go back and is this couple just, I guess I don't know the relationship, so it's just like they've donated to the town before, they donated to this committee, or like this group before, or where did their donations have gone to the town before, or is it in the budget, was it in the budget already that we currently have, or
There's no budget for donation.
the funds, the 98,000, they've donated to that already? That, the totality of the
That's
98,000. So, I mean, there's. I agree that we shouldn't be, if people want to donate, whenever they want to donate. If there's discussion to be made about it, then we can discuss it in the group. I don't know if at this point you've already informed them no, so I'm not sure that going back to those individuals would be really. I wouldn't want to make that impression to those individuals that were saying, oh no, suddenly please make the donation if you want to. So, I mean, we're at the end of the year already, so is it something they can, would consider early next year? So that way, we're already in November, is the fiscal year, sorry, when is the fiscal year?
It's a calendar year.
It is a calendar year, so it'll start again in January.
And just as a reminder that out of that 98,000 that's been raised, we're gonna be cutting the check to Lebanon in the beginning of next year for the services that have been rendered for 2024. So that $98,000, it's a moving number. It's not a constant. That's not our permanent.
Do
So
we have that amount already, or do we have that amount figured?
yeah, that was presented earlier in the
Okay, so
year.
those are
where-
still the numbers.
what the numbers are if we want to maintain, because we've been provided the numbers, I believe, for 2, if not 3 years of services that included increases in costs specifically for the 10 hours. So
Well, yeah, following 2 years for projections. but
yeah, there were
yes,
projections. Yeah, exactly.
So,
They're gonna be pretty close. I'm looking to see if I can put my fingers on that quickly for you. It might not be that.
so yeah, my sentiment is if donations come through, I don't think we should. Any of us as individuals should say yes or no. I think if it's is the sentiment of the town, any donations, we just say yes. But if it's a no, or we're deferring it what is the guidance of that? So if somebody came up to any of us and saying, I heard that you're part of the nursing, committee and this project, and I want to donate, I'm gonna cut you a check right now. Do I say, oh, no, wait, we have a process for that? XYZ, or do I say, wait, I have to bring it to discussion, or I just say, yes, go ahead and cut the town a check?
If we are currently accepting donations and we are actively fundraising, then there is no reason not to accept donations, period.
Right,
Like,
so you
that's
tell
it's kind of
somebody,
the landscape of if you are fundraising, then you accept funds that come in. It doesn't really matter kind of what specific avenues those are. If the goal is fundraising, then you bring it in and then.
so right, we tell the person, go ahead and make the check out to the town,
Yes,
ideally.
I don't agree with that. I think there's an ethical issue as to whether we are gonna look for donations beyond what we can reasonably project as our needs. Okay, we're $2,500 short of the budget we agreed on, of the goal we agreed on as a committee. And we have outstanding $10,000 in requests. We've only gone to foundations, with the exception of Jake's, which is, as far as I know, officially a foundation, but it's a large organization. We haven't gone to individuals. I think those are all facts. So I think if you want to consider this, I think you have to think about, are we going to exceed our goal? And sort of what's the rationale for that? That's a
But-
broader question. Let me finish, please. That's a broader question than the one Emily's raising, but I think you sort of have to think about this in that context.
So
Okay,
if
go
we
ahead.
have $2,500 outstanding that has not been raised, and ethically, what is the question of turning money away? If we have not reached our goal, whether we haven't received $10,000. So what is the ethics of refusing money that could fulfill that $2,500?
Well, then
And we're also,
Jake's sends us a check for 5,000. And now we're over now we have raised more.
that's not, but it's,
That's just a hypothetical.
again, it's hypothetical, but
hear
if
from
you,
Other
we're
people
working
around
on the
us.
facts that we have $2,500 outstanding. The fact is, we have $2,500 outstanding. Fact is, we were offered money that would fill that, and it was turned down. So that's what's in question.
We also haven't gone to individuals, correct?
Why would we turn down an individual just because we haven't gone to individuals?
If you want to give me direction,
So I'm
let me
asking,
finish, please.
excuse you, I am able to complete a statement.
I was interrupting you. If I
I'm
was,
Arguing over interruptions, I would like to complete my thought. You made a decision on behalf of the committee. So
I heard
yes, I am asking you. You are bringing up the ethics, so I am asking you. It is obviously open to discussion for anybody in this committee to participate. I am not excluding anybody.
I don't think it is ethical. I'm not sure of my grounds. It's not a terribly clear-cut issue, but I'm not comfortable asking for more money than we need. I'm not, for example, comfortable with broadcasting a request to the whole community, which we're gonna do in our mailer, but I'm assuming we're not gonna get a lot of money, and that's not gonna be a big issue. I've said what I have to say, so I really would like to hear other people.
I think the matter, to me, the matter is that it's the fact that, if anybody here were asked by anybody to make a donation, now I know, I should be saying yes. If I were to be inclined to say no, I would want to bring that to the group first. So why didn't we have this discussion first? And then, if at that point we said, well, let's wait on the other grants and then come back to this couple, then perhaps that makes it worthy. The fact that it was discussed here, I guess if each of us started having those connections with individuals and started deciding yes or no for the group, it doesn't really make a step. It doesn't align with what the committee is for. So I would have liked to have had that decision, maybe, I don't know when you had that conversation, so if you had it just between the last meeting and this meeting, then it would have been great to have this conversation now to ask the opinion of everyone. Right now, I guess there's not much to say on my end because you've already said no, and so I would hate for us to go back to a couple and say, we've changed our mind because of a meeting that we had, so we're gonna have to go with that. So it's almost, my hands are tied because you've already said no to that offer. Does that make sense? Like, we didn't have a time, there wasn't an option to discuss it, so.
And I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
To me, they're sort of two different pockets of where we're fundraising. This is sort of big money donations that Steve's been working on, and then the rest are kind of general community donations, and to me, I would never say no to a constituent who wants to contribute to this. I don't, it's usually not gonna be a huge amount of money, number one, but no, not number one. Number one is we need to feel that the community is supporting this. So anybody who, in any amount, who just happens to, we run into, who wants to donate money, or say we're doing just an information table somewhere and somebody comes along and says, I'd like to write out a check, I would say, of course, thank you very much. So, but that's a different process than going out and seeking money from individuals and large companies that, that have a history of donating to these kinds of projects. To me, there were two different things. Is all I was pointing out.
Yeah, I understand the relationship building and fundraising, but the relationship is now between the town through our committee and everyone. So it's, if this was an ad hoc committee, then that may have been different. Again, I'm just putting my perspective in it. Donna, did you have?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, it seems to me that we just haven't really thought this part through, and it's to Steve's point, which is a good point, and, I mean, I guess it's our opportunity to do it now, right, as we think about this moving forward. Do we only fundraise to our budget? And in which case, maybe we don't ask for, money from the general community, or does it make sense to continue on with overall fundraising because we don't know yet what's going to happen,
It's a
right?
moving target.
It's
A little bit.
it's somewhat of a, right, because a lot's gonna depend on how the town votes and how, or do we, wait for that to resume fundraising? So I don't have an answer, like, what's the best thing, but I think to Steve's point, like, I guess we should. Hadn't thought about thinking that part through, but we probably should. Like, do we only fundraise to X amount and then we stop, or do we just keep fundraising? Or having something in the, some reserve or whatever.
There's also the question of A, if it's approved by voters, and B, this goes before committees and it goes before the budget committee, it goes before the select board. Like, there are more hurdles than just our residents to come before us. And so, as a committee, do we say that it's safe to assume, hey, this is going to be approved and, this is going to move on and we aren't going to have to fundraise anymore? Or do we say, well, do we prepare for the possibilities of the future? And do we, there's a lot of if-then statements that go into it. Do we continue our contract with Lebanon year over year over year? Do we know how far that goes? Well, maybe not, but figuring out what it's doing for the community and why that matters and how we do it is going to depend on the funding that we have available. And just because it does go before, the boards and committees and the voters, it doesn't mean that we don't put something towards that as a committee to also try to offset those costs to taxpayers as well. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces to that. That I don't feel like it's safe to rely on, that 100% is just going to go straight to, being on the taxpayer's back instead of having other contributions that can be beneficial to that program.
So is it the sentiment of the group that we would have, that we're almost near our goal? It's almost the end of the year. So at this point, we're just waiting on those responses or not. So between now and December 31st and this mailer going out, if we're still planning for it to go out this year, removing that part about checks can be made out and then putting it back in next year. I guess I'm just trying to get us, because, right, so maybe the couple will get this and say, oh, I can, here's how you can support your community to receive these checks, and maybe they'll send one. I have no clue, or maybe they won't based on your conversation. But if we're talking about the ethics of it, then should we be asking people at the end of the year right now to be donating through these these mailers, or should we remove that?
Hmm.
If we're saying the focus this year was foundations and bigger organizations and previous donors. Yes,
I think Emily raises an important question, which I have been interpreting in one way, but I want to know if I'm correct or not. So is our goal this year for fundraising to raise 35,000? Or is it to raise as much as we can?
Mm,
Well, this year and next year, let's say.
right.
Those are, it turns out those are different things.
Mhm.
They imply different
Yeah.
approaches. I've been assuming it was 35,000. So what do the rest of you think?
I've actually not, I thought we just accept donations as it rolls. I thought I didn't pay attention to the goal.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not on the same page in that case. Perhaps because it wasn't discussed.
Right.
You know, to be fair, fundraising wasn't necessarily, we were trying to get organized and on the same page, and we were working on what it meant to be a committee in the beginning. So I don't think we got into the weeds of, this is our goal for this year, this is what we're targeting. Does everybody agree with that? I don't think that was ever asked or discussed, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
We had a meeting July or August in which I presented several plans, Plan A and Plan B with spreadsheets. And they had projections of what the costs were going to be and how much we had in the bank. And the difference was what we were going to raise. And that was the meeting at which I think Ed was here and we came up with this plan that we would fund through 26.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes,
Right.
I remember that, yes.
And that led us to a particular plan. And the amount we needed to fund through 26, given reasonable projections, was the 35,000.
Right.
So I think in that sense, we did
Well, yeah,
agree on that
yeah.
target now. I don't think this kind of,
Of the
this
rolling,
particular
yeah.
question
No.
came up. So now it's come up and I
Yeah.
think it matters.
Right, because if we're gonna say rolling, then we should keep this in our mailer, like,
Yeah.
here's ways that you can donate. But if it's not rolling, because we feel we're nearing that goal, then it's not fair to ask the community now. Is that, if we're talking, I mean, is it fair? Is it fair to ask the community now? Because what if I'm an individual and this is the first time I'm seeing this, but I really buy in and I think it's important and I write a $10,000 check. Not saying that it will happen,
No,
but you never know.
And I've been sort of ignoring this issue about the mailer because I figured, well, if we get two $50 checks, we're fine and that won't be a big problem. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know the town enough to, I don't know the town enough to say like if they receive mailers, have they responded to donations? Yes.
Like, obviously, this is not my role here, but it seems to me like if you had a substantial account running, that does not preclude you from adding it to the tax roll. You could get, and in fact, it might be helpful to get the voters to, and the committees and the voters, to take over the project without having to raise any funds for the first year or two, or whatever it happens to be. Right, so if you walk into town meeting saying, we want the voters to start funding this, but it doesn't take effect until 2028 because we've already raised this much money for private donations. That's a good time to do it, as opposed to, by the way, we're $40,000 in the hole and we need you to pick up the tab. Just from a strategy standpoint, my 2 cents.
I respond
Steve,
to that.
did you want to
Yes, go ahead.
recognize?
Sorry.
You want to be recognized?
Yeah, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just-
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
I don't want to feel like the people should be talking more. I don't know how to get that to happen. I hear what you're saying. We will have raised 3 years
by 26, right? So we privately funded.
I meant three
Already.
more years.
No, I understand. You remember when, I guess it was Obamacare, was expanding Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid coverage? Some of the states said, I know the feds are gonna pay for it for the first year or two, but I don't trust them. And that kind of reaction could be, we could get that kind of reaction where, okay, you've raised half of 27, but then it's gonna fall. I don't know. I'm just a little leery of that, getting that reaction. But
Well, we're, so, I mean, to circle back to to the, to the donation, for me, I'm comfortable that we're going to reach our goal of third of that amount. I don't know enough to say to keep the donations request, yes or no. So I'd have to just say, let's just keep it, because I don't know enough to pull it out. I don't know if, you know. And lastly, because, I don't think we also mean to stop collecting donations, right? So I think if people moving forward, if anyone ever says, can I donate? And I'll just say, yes, please write it out to the town of Enfield. Like that will be. Yeah. So that's where I land. And as far as, yeah, just noting that if any one of us would want to say no, or I'm not sure if it's other than a yes, then we should bring it up to the group just to have the discussion or have this information available for the rest of the committee. Again, I don't know the funding, I know with donors, you have to, there's relationships and all of that built into that. So I think we're also shifting into them building their relationship with the town, because that's essentially who's managing these funds. Yes.
As a point of reference, so looking at the document that was presented to us in July that had been approved by the committee, the goal was to raise $50,000 by 2026. Since that was presented and accepted, we have received $35,350. So we still actually have a $15,000 gap, a little bit less than, to reach the actual $15,000 goal, just if that helps put that in perspective.
Yeah, so 50,000 was the goal set. Is that the final?
That's what the document that I received to be presented stated that was accepted. Unless I'm looking at the wrong one, because we had an A, we had a B, and then there was one that was brought up at the final meeting. I'm looking at the latest one that I have a copy of, but if that's not correct, please let me know. But from what I see, that is kind of the long and short of it.
So I think we're at this point now where, we just want to level set that we're on the same page, or we're accepting donations. If that $50,000, which is the latest in the minutes, and see, feel free to finalize and, or just double check so we're not in that amount. So we still actually have a gap between that amount and what we've raised so far. So we're not at a point to really not accept any kind of donation moving forward. So I'm comfortable to just keep that information in the postcard, because like I said, I don't have enough data to say that people would be upset to see that. I don't know that, I think it's natural that somebody would see that. I feel anyway, for a project that's happening in a community that's led, and privately funded at this point, so. Any other comments about? You guys said it was gonna be quick. Okay, now any other comments about fundraising at this point then? All right, so let's just dive right into the postcard mailer. So if you look at your packet, it's in page 5 and 6. If folks anyone wants to kick us off for their initial thoughts, comments, I think we're looking at really any words that is jarring to you that you absolutely don't want to go out to the community, I think that would be an edit. As far as layout, I think there's been some really good considerations on breaking it up and not having too much heavy text. One question I did have, Emily, I know we talked about maybe like a landing page when people went to, this would have like more information on the program. Is that this link here? The find more information at? Wasn't there like there was All right, Parker, can you hear us? Oh,
He's
Yeah,
speaking and we can't.
we can't hear you. I think you can finally hear us though. Yeah,
Okay,
that
that
was
was the issue. I apologize.
very okay. deeply. Do you want, can you unmute yourself? Are you able to unmute?
How about that?
Perfect. Okay. So
I'm
we
really
just,
sorry. I'm usually not this incompetent. This is a special skill that I have relative to this
Actually, my
meeting.
fault, Parker. I apologize.
no, you're good. So we just made a motion to, so Cindy created a flyer that we will have to present at different places that we might table or be present. And we put in a motion for a local company called Budget Printing to print at 32 cents for 150 copies versus Staples, which was lesser, 27 cents. So the motion is for budget at 32 cents for 150 copies. Do you agree?
Uh-oh.
I didn't touch anything.
Oh, did you hear me? Can you hear me? Parker?
Are you talking to me?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
I'm talking to you, yeah. Are you okay? We voted to, we
Yes,
just need your vote.
absolutely.
Okay,
Sure,
all right,
sure.
perfect. That's a yes from Parker, thank you.
So I don't know if it's actually a requirement of 91A or just the consensus of other public committees that I've been involved in. But I believe as soon as you have a voting member online, all votes have to be roll calls. Which, with this many
So,
people in
yeah.
the room, you basically just did.
I was just gonna
But-
say, that's the only reason I didn't say anything is
Yeah.
because everybody went individually, and
Right.
so that's the
Yeah.
only reason why I
That,
didn't.
it
call
worked
that
out fine, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, yeah.
Okay. Moving to the next bullet point, then the website review. So we have the donation page versus the information page. Yeah, so I think this came up last meeting where, hello. Please join us.
I think he's here for the next.
Got it.
meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So website review, so this was a question of, at this point, we don't have I don't believe that there is a landing page for the donations if people wanted to donate. We just have the information page. So yeah, so Emily has it up. And the thought was either like a combined one, or should there be a donation page that's created? So it's open for discussion.
Where does it say there how to donate on that page? So as long as it's just clear somewhere there. I see that.
So this is an overview. So we have one that says fundraising in progress. We could either make a new tab, or we could adapt this to say donate today, and it would actually bring you to this page, which updates the current fundraising and our thank yous and how to. Which I could move the how to contribute to the top and then have the other information, or.
Oh, so how to is at the bottom there? You can
Yeah.
sort of read it as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So without reinventing the wheel, I could just kind of change the title page of that so that it says, donate today or anything. If that's
Perfect.
what you would like to see, I can do that.
Makes sense.
Okay.
It just, as long as it's clear from the first page that people know if they want to. Which like.
Well, what are folks' thoughts in where it says fundraising in progress on the left,
Yeah.
the tab? If there's a parentheses or after that, it says donate now, is that too bold? Like, is it like? Or is that enough? I'm okay either way. I'm just, again, thinking about call to action as well.
I would put the word donate on that. So people know if they can donate. I agree that an action. for them to see on the tab, on the left tabs.
Did we discuss at the last meeting, changing the word referral because people think it means a provider making the referral instead of, it's like, how to contact the community nurse or something like that instead of how to make a referral.
Yeah. What are folks, I agree, like, is referral the word that, or should we be using referral or should we be using a different word?
Yeah, and
You know, nowadays
think-
words matter.
the whole phrase make a referral is so common in
You're good.
when you go to your provider and they make a referral to another provider.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
And I would probably put it at the end of that list because you already have, because what is a community nurse? You want that before you put, how to
Yeah.
contact the nurse.
Yeah, so moving up, what is a community nurse? So then maybe get started? I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like an action, again, like a call to action, like
Need a nurse.
need a nurse. That's, are you guys okay with that to? Yeah. I like need a nurse.
With a question mark.
Yeah, we're in the smart.
So instead of what is a community nurse?
No, for
Well, you want to keep that
referral.
in.
Yeah, so we would, so
Oh,
under fundraising in progress, there could be something after that says donate, and then it would be, what is a community nurse? And then how to make a referral would go below, but that would say, need a nurse question mark.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the website? Anything that's missing?
I think you all need headshots under the committee member section.
I veto. Motion dies on the table. Let's
Yeah.
move forward.
Kill that motion.
I don't see that in all the other
Oh,
pages.
wait, I still need your headshots on there, Jeremy.
Oh, they're on the city's webpage. You just do.
Well, actually, yeah, somebody in the very beginning at one point brought up the point, it might be good to see the photos of the nurses that come to visit. So I'm sorry, Jeremy, is it anywhere? What do people think about that? Because they're coming to your homes or they might be coming to your homes, or is there an issue with that? Cause
Yeah, no, we can just do that. That's easy.
We have,
We can, so I was provided that information, but at the beginning, it was one of those things where redirecting to their page made more sense at the time, just so it wasn't kind of reinventing the wheel, and so that was where we went at that given time, because that was even prior to the committee formation, where we had this page, so that's kind of where it's been at, but it can absolutely be done.
could it be added onto this or meet the community nurses, make another tab and
Oh,
just
good idea.
pull in the article that describes them and has the photos that we already published?
Yes, but no, but yes, so I.
Good idea. I don't know how to do it.
So, yes, but I had started actually creating that as kind of a visual, but it was how do I import this and then put it to this, and
Yeah,
because again, new website has
Yeah.
been fun. I'll leave it at that. But yes, I will work on finding a way to make that happen so that you can kind of meet the nurses and have a tab.
Yeah.
And then what I'll probably do is kind of create that link of learn more and then link it to
Mhm.
their page so that there's still that connection point, but also it gives the face to our community. Yeah.
I mean, if there's an interim, since the other changes are minor and we're just changing how to make a referral to need a nurse, you could put their photos and names. Like at some point, either on top there and just say, here are the nurses, and then their photos, learn more, a link to click more, and then, then the rest of the information on how to make a referral. again, I do think putting faces on folks that are gonna come in or would
Mhm.
possibly connect is make people feel a little bit more user friendly to approach it.
And I'll try to work on how to kind of where they are in sequential order on that left-hand bar. That, yeah, that's also a work in progress, so I will do my best to do
No
that as
problem.
well.
Okay, any other thoughts on website review? All right, we'll spend the next few minutes here, on RedCap and MIH data for 2024. So, Jeremy, if you have any other
Big questions.
comments or questions to him?
We'll tell you that the outreach for November is up based on the fact that the actuals for October look so bad. So it's trying,
What do you mean the outreach is up? What does that mean?
like just beating the bushes, trying to get more referrals.
Oh, I see. And how do you do that?
Yeah.
Just keep talking to the people that you think might make referrals. So she's been to the senior center and Health First, and I don't have the list of November's activities in front of me, but, you know, all of those sort of places. Reach out to care management and do a reminder that we're in Enfield and that sort of thing.
I've just started putting out some flyers, so, I'll continue increasing that activity as time goes on.
And so that's why the hours are a little bit lower, because we put referrals have been lower.
Yeah. And again, like if we think of it, you know, like we think of police or fire, or the ambulance, you've got your full 10 hours of readiness. Just not doing 10 hours of necessary delivery at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, this is, I mean, when the mailer goes out, this is a great way to see if, you know, there's some impact, maybe not, because December typically you said it tend to pick up anyway, but
Yeah.
hopefully the mailer will prove to also be useful to get it into folks' radar. You know, I think this prompts us as a group, as a committee to also think about our own outreach and what we see in the winter outreach, because, you know, probably a lot of folks that are gonna be isolated and potential for falls with the snow and winter, so I think, you know, this is not for this meeting today, but at some point, maybe in the December meeting, we'll discuss what we see as outreach, what we see as our goal for outreach for 2025. To supplement the outreach that the nurses, the community nurses are doing. Any other comments or feedback on the data?
I would just like to see the x-axis labeled. It was unclear with some of the community nurse,
Yeah,
what the bar graphs were showing.
Which,
Oh, down here, yeah, that's the red cap, because there's not enough. I don't know if it's possible to request getting it in landscape instead of portrait. I can certainly follow up with Kristen Barnum and ask if that might be something that's helpful to have it fully represented, but I'm not sure. I know that's been a challenge for a while now. I'm not really sure how to.
Yeah, well, the what, right, all of the words, but then like, so like, what is 1, 2, 3, 4? Is that number of, because this is nursing problems, so what is the x-axis?
so the label, yeah.
Like, I'm a little unclear as to what those numbers are most of the time. I mean, I think referral.
I can probably answer that. Give me 1 second just to actually look at. Yeah, interventions, I feel like is pretty straightforward. It's like, you know, the number of times that intervention has occurred. Outcomes is the number of times that they measured that outcome, right? So prevented hospital visits, It might be zero, but reduced anxiety because they just click that for every visit because it in fact does reduce people's anxiety. The
That's
risk
number of visits. the
Yeah.
x-axis.
and addressed social risk factors, that means that they were addressed, so it would be the same thing, like number of times that they got addressed, nursing problems. I think that is actually number of people, but we'd have to double check with Kristen on that.
The 0 to 30 might be number of people. Yeah.
And outcomes would be also, I think, the number of individuals, but have to double check with Kristen on that.
Yeah, but I mean, that would just be helpful in the future to know what we're talking about.
Yeah, especially when we get the quarterly, the bigger,
The quarterly ones.
yeah, that would be, I agree noting that.
The risk
With
factor.
the-
think this is, yeah, this is our quarterly.
Oh, this is.
Yeah,
This is the quarterly.
yeah, I
Yeah, this is the
didn't,
quarterly. so-
I honestly, I didn't realize that I hadn't received the October red cap, like kind of the 1 month capture from Krista until I was putting this together, and honestly, it was too late. I didn't reach out to her.
I
to
also
Get that.
didn't think that I got Lebanon's, but it was on the same email. Just one of them was in the body of the email as like some sort of other type of document, and one was an
Oh.
actual, it was like a Google Doc in the email, and then the quarterly was the attachment.
Oh,
Cause I had the same thing, like I went to respond to her that we didn't, I'm like, thanks for the quarterlies, but I need the monthlies. And then I'm like, oh, it's a Google Doc right there.
Could you mail out the monthly if you find it in your email?
I can distribute it for the next meeting. Yeah.
Oh, we can't get it between meetings.
No, it's part of the meeting packet for discussion, so it's.
Okay.
I just have a question about falls, just because that's my thing. Do you know, how, what the metrics are for that? When it says reduce falls risk by chance, no, or somebody who's at fall risk, just curious.
I don't, and the other thing that I will just say about the outcome data
Mhm.
is that since Enfield numbers are so small, I'm willing to bet that those are aggregate with somebody else. Because they're still probably identifiable. So that might be like all of Community Nurse Connection, not just Enfield specifically at this point for the quarterly data. But that's a question you'd have to ask her. Like I would be, knowing what Enfield has for number of patients, I'd be pretty hesitant to give you outcome data at this point just for Enfield.
Wow.
Because then you could be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Betty fell down and they put up, they took her throw rug away.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be looking at
Yeah,
aggregate data thinking it's individual.
right. So I can't, again, this isn't my data. I can't
Right,
promise that
right,
that was
right.
the case. But that would be my suspicion.
I'll send her an email in case anyone else, unless anyone else wants to do it, just asking that.
And I know we're low on time, but I do, I've got the Community Nurse Connection monthly report open. So if you want me to just rattle it off. Or you can take 30 seconds and look at my computer.
Well, if for the month will be in the next packet, then
Yeah.
if whoever wants to look at it, is also welcome to look at it.
I would like to offer an idea related to this too, if we have.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm not talking about this date in this month. I'm looking ahead. At our January meeting, we should have complete data for our first year.
At your February meeting, you should have complete data for your first year. It's gonna take me a minute. We're gonna offer you a bigger data set for the end of the year. Where we can offer outcomes and, talk about hospital readmissions and 911 calls and all of that. It's gonna take more than 2 weeks to compile though.
Could you let her raise the question? So that will be for the February meeting. So my idea would.
I mean, I can try, but I'm definitely not promising January.
I think
I-
in the previous minutes that
I agree.
February will be the presentation of that data.
What I'm getting at is, I think, once we get data for that first year, as a committee, we should make a concerted effort to stop and evaluate it. And, the idea that I wanted to propose was to use Kristen to help us do that, since she has a perspective that none of us do on sort of all these, all the programs, and she can compare how Enfield is doing compared to other towns. So what I would propose is that we invite her to attend, make a presentation to help us evaluate the first year data. And I guess I'm talking about the February meeting. I brought it up now
Makes
because
sense.
I don't know her schedule
Yeah,
and you know, we
absolutely.
can't ask her a week in advance and,
Yeah.
no,
It's gonna be on a sailboat.
not sailing. It's a power boat, by the way,
Yeah.
but yeah, that boat
Yeah. I
has to
think
be
that's
taken
fair.
into account. So what are you, so February?
It's a good idea.
I think it makes most sense to do it when we've got the complete, all the data we're gonna get, and it sounds like your data is particularly important, so.
Yeah. I don't think we need to vote, but I agree to have her to, if Emily, if you could reach out and then just invite her to that meeting date. And to that effect, if folks can really look at their calendar for the first part of, for 2025, to just let let Emily know which meetings you're not gonna be able to attend, and to make a concerted effort to attend the February meeting.
Someone should communicate. I probably should have asked Kristen if I could use her name here, but, I probably could get away with that. Should we wait to communicate to her or what? Maybe just informally?
I think Emily can, I think Emily can reach out now, yeah, just to get it secured on the books, yeah.
Yeah.
We know already the date, so it's not gonna change unless we, in December, we decide to have another month or a different time
Well,
slot.
and you're asking her to do that in her role as the Director of Community Nurse Connection, so it's completely appropriate.
Exactly. No, that's exactly, yeah, it's not a personal
Right.
favor. It's, I'm sure she'd be considerate, part of her job.
All right, well,
Great.
any other items from the committee members? Any public comments from you, from online? All right, and as always, if there's any future agenda items, please, and you forgot to discuss it here, you can absolutely bring it up to Emily, email Emily, and she'll get it in our next meeting. So it is 6:32. I'm calling this meeting adjourned. Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Thanks, Parker. Thank you. All right. Happy holidays. I'll say it again when we see each other in December.
Thank you.